What's poppin', ladies and gentlemen? How's everyone doing? This is your boy Ivan. I'm here with my boy Nitty Effects, and today we're gonna be doing a prediction video to the next death battle: Avatar Aang from the last Airbender series, and Edward else. Oh shit, I fucked up the last name.
Elric.
Eric from Full Metal
Elric.
Alchemist. Eric
Just say it
from
like
the
that. No, it doesn't matter. No, people won't get it.
Edward Eric from the Full Metal Alchemist series. Sorry about that. Now, these are two elemental based warriors, and I guess that's where the similarities end because these two are extremely powerful beings. And so much so, I have no idea how this battle is going to turn out because there's going to be a lot of factors and variables into who may potentially win this battle. But, Nij, what's your take on this battle?
Well, I'm trying to understand why they decided to put these two together. I'm guessing because they both can create stuff out of the element. But I'm still confused because our boy Edward can do anything as long as the element is around him, like a physical element. He can just
Mm-hmm.
clap, do cheesh cheesh cheesh, and like turn and make things. Versus our airbender, like I'm really trying. They're both short. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's like the little man syndrome fight. You know, because what Death Battle, like look at the last fight was a celebrity. That remember me and you were like confused before, like why is Johnny Cage and Falcon fighting? Like
Yeah,
I didn't
that's true.
understand it, and then it turns out it's just like with Ken versus Terry Bogard because they both had blonde hair and they kind of both like rocked red. That was
Yeah, that's
like
true.
like there was like there's like some like weird reason. So I'm trying. Of course, someone's gonna have the answer, probably better than us. The only thing I can think of is they're both really tiny, and they both probably get picked on a lot for their height. Like it's like battle. I don't want to say battle of the midgets, but like little man syndrome. I don't know. Someone's got to help me.
I'm guessing because yeah, they both kind of short. They're both pretty young. Well, Aang's technically 102 because he was trapped in a iceberg for 100
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
But and they both manipulate the elements in some form or another. But I'm sure there's others more than that. So I'm guessing that's kind of where the similarities end as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah, they just both are masters of manipulating elements. So yeah, so this is going to be interesting to see how this battle plays out. So I guess the best thing to start with will be their physical and will be their own physical strength. What do you think, bro?
Physical strength is a good place that we can definitely start it off as. Do you want to
Yeah,
rock it, or what are you
yeah.
thinking here?
I guess I guess I can rock it out. So before I get into this battle, I just want to say because in my opinion, since they're both going to manipulate the elements, I'm going to guess this is not going to play as much of a factor because they're going to cancel each other out for the most parts. Because if you're going to manipulate an element, then I'm going to use another element to cancel it. So it's really going to come down to the smaller details, whether they're physical strength and any little tidbits that may happen. So I guess strength, like I said, will be the first place to look. Now, for Aang, he was able to lift a giant fish as it swam, and this fish was huge. Lift a large boulder over his back, and which is looking. It's been a while since I saw Avatar, so I don't remember quite everything that happened. But when he was training with Toph, who you guys don't remember, was actually in a previous death battle with Gara, as she was helping him train how to earthbend because earth was the most difficult element for Aang to learn because he's so used to the air, the free floating and whatever, and so he was able to lift his large boulder his head, which if I'm going to do my own math looks like weighs about like 5 tons. It was heavy, and this was when he was young. So and blah, 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 blah. So he was physically strong as far as his elements. He was able to he could like blow people away like for like many miles with his airbending as far as I can see. He was able to deflect a fireball. He was able to lift and throw back a giant moose lion, which is like the size of an elephant. He was able to beat up a giant sea serpent. Let's see what else. And yeah, and this was all when he was like just learning to be an avatar because at this point he didn't want to accept it. And as far as I can see, this is what I'm getting because a lot of his strength is when he's like when he uses elements, air, earth, water, and fire, and all that other stuff. So, but earth is definitely is where his strength is going to be because yeah. Yeah, he's just able to throw boulders, throw massive amounts of rocks that must weigh several hundred tons at best. And so, as far as I'm looking at, for his airbending, he was able to stop a volcano's eruption because there was a volcano that was going to destroy this village, and with airbending, he was able to turn it all to stone. So I don't know if that's a strength feat, though. That's still impressive nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's all I can see. But how does Edward's strength stack up?
Well, the most impressive thing that I can think of course, it's subjective about all the cats that he's taken on, but for sure, he was able to punch a tree and snap the damn thing. So, and as far as the thickness of the tree, he we're talking a decent I don't know, like, it's definitely a tree that's tall, and proud. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't talking about like your little apple tree. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's definitely like a good, like, your standard oak tree. He was able to just bow and fucking split it.
Right
So
on.
I mean, that's pretty damn impressive to me to be able to punch a damn tree. So we're gonna have to rely on Death Battle to find something better than me. That's like the most thing that I remember. And once again, like, he's punched all his enemies and everything. But the problem in that show is the show never boasted like, well, this character can take it up the butt by this character, or this character can survive in prison with this character. Like, it's just one of those things that, like, there's really, as far as the scaling goes of durability on these cats, it's very hard for the enemies, right? All I know is that for sure the strongest thing, because, like, yeah, I definitely remember that he kicked the damn Chimera. If you
Mm-hmm.
guys remember, unfortunately, that was a very sad, you know, whatever situation where he had to do what he had to do. He kicked the goddamn thing in the face and it went flying. But I would say the tree smashing was the most impressive thing I saw. So with that being said, he's, what is that, like, I don't want to say tree level or wall level, or like,
Maybe
that's literally the strongest thing that I know of. If he does use alchemy though, he can um start, like, he can, like, straight up, like, the building's made out of stone, so he just
mm-hmm.
smacks his hands together, puts them down, and then he could take that stone and, like, make fucking something out of it, like spikes, and then he could basically erupt the whole damn building.
Right on.
So when his normal base fighting, we're looking at tree or wall level. But if he starts messing with alchemy, he can level a building. That's pretty much it. Like, that's all I got for attack potency.
Okay, right on. And keep in mind, all the attack potencies all the physical strength I see from Yang, this was really at his base form. He's gonna have something called the Avatar State, and that's when his power comes into play. And I don't know if I should bring in some examples of that now, or should I just wait for that? What do you think, man?
Well,
There's a good time.
we're talking about strength right now, so I would
Okay,
say right now you should just throw down strength, because after
all right.
that we're gonna move to whatever you want to go cover next.
All right, right on. So he has something called the Avatar State, which utilizes the knowledge and experience of all the past avatars before him, and to manipulate his spiritual energy as well as the mastery of all his bending arts. And by the end of the series, he has full mastery of them. And keep in mind, since he has all this, since he's pretty much the spirit of so many past avatars, he's gonna have their experience and maybe even potentially their feats, or at least he's scaled to them. In fact, one of the most impressive feats that I know of that Avatar can do was one with Avatar Kuroshi. I think that's how you pronounce it. She separated an entire island, like split it in half to make a new island called Kyoshi Island. To protect her people from a tyrant. And she just used all four elements to do it. She split it in half, used a little bit of the lava bending or whatever, and just completely moved the island. And I think it's safe to say because at this point, how strong Yang is, I think it's safe to say he can do this exact same thing as well, and that's almost that's near continent feat and continent level of power. And another thing an Avatar can do is, for what I've seen, one called Avatar Roku. He started a massive volcano eruption, which is like in the megatons. And so, like I said, this was like, my Avatar Roku was like before, came before Aang. And so I think it's safe to say with all, and I'm sure there's other ones that done so many crazy stuff too. So I think it's safe to say that Aang is more than capable of replicating these feats. So in terms of physical strength, that's pretty impressive. That's almost continent level of power.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, attack
yeah,
potency to me sounds like it's pretty much in Baldo's favor.
yeah.
Baldy.
and
I just don't. The power level gap right there is insanely different.
Yeah, and there's also some stuff here too that I mentioned, like
Mm-hmm.
that there was this one particular battle where he could pretty much created a water kaiju and just created a massive amounts of tidal wave that completely annihilated the Fire Nation's naval fleets. But the only problem with that is why this wasn't his avatar state. He pretty much had to kind of use the power of the water spirit, which is essentially at the end of the first arc. So I don't know if that's going to come into play, but that's still it's still an avatar state kind of move, and I could also, and so that's another thing he can do. So with like that pretty much amplifies all his bending abilities to its max.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, Earth is where his physical strength lies because he's been shown to like manipulate rocks like that can must weigh at least 50 tons, maybe even more. So yeah, that's physical strength too.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess for attack potency, like I said, I'm not entirely sure of what Edward can do physically, but I'm sure there's a lot more to him than what's given. But for now, I'm gonna say physical strength and attack potency. I'm gonna give it to Aang. What do you think, man?
That's yeah. Without a doubt, I'm pretty sure Aang takes this one. There's nothing like Full Metal L is not a. The characters don't sit there and like level fucking moons or continents or anything like that. You know,
Right on,
the show
right
was
on.
never implemented as that. It was a little bit, like about it was like X-Men, Saturday X-Men cartoon level, you know, for potency. Nothing really special.
Yeah, right on, right on. So I would say, so I think we should
Okay.
move on to the next. Should we move on to the next subject then?
Yeah, go ahead. Start it off, man.
All right, so then now we're going to talk about speed, and Aang's speed he's extremely quick-footed, whether it's his reaction speed or his movement speed, because as an airbender he's going to be able to take control of the wind, levitate a little bit. He has something called an air scooter, which is good enough that he can go on walls, go up ceilings. He was able to run on water,
Mm-hmm.
well, which could be based on his what you call it water bending, but still he's still fast enough that he could run on water, and he's been shown several times to like not only dodge lightning but also to intercept it, and he's even able to deflect it, which he also learned from Zuko, because Zuko is also capable of intercepting lightning and redirecting it, which moves like 200,000 miles per hour. Which I don't know if they're going to use like the what you call it, the return stroke of a lightning, which is like 200 million or whatever. Which I don't think so. But the fact that he's able to dodge and intercept lightning, that's fast reaction right there. And with his air bending, he's going to be able. He's going to have a lot more movement control. He's known to be extremely flexible in the air, and he also has something. He also has a glider which he uses to fly with. Yes, flying, not gliding. So that I think he's gonna have solid control over the battlefield, and it's also one of his arsenals, his weapon too. So yeah, so it says right here, he said he was able to run a full spiral up a wall or ceiling down away. He kicked up a well, that's not that important. He was fast enough to run across the surface of water to create a whirlpool. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what I can see for his speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I will fill in the gaps here on our side for Elric. At most, he is pretty much supersonic speeds because there was tons of bullet dodging feats. I do remember that when it came down to it. Cornello's gun. was definitely a speed blitz. Marcos or something like that. There was a bunch of people, and Mustang, Dasato. There was a bunch of people, and that would just shoot because in their world they had people that had guns. They were able to dodge it. Um, that's really the most, honestly, the most impressive thing they would do in their world. When he did get upgraded with lighter automail, which
Mm-hmm.
is that's remember like the side of his body that got sacrificed. For those of you who don't know, please watch the anime because it really is a good show. He got upgraded, and the other part of his body is actually surprisingly lighter than his skin part, and it makes him faster. So he did actually kind of hit into that hypersonic realm, but it's still nowhere near our Baldo or Airbender. Aang. I'm gonna call him Baldo, or I could call him Baldy, but I know someone's gonna get all butthurt in the comments. Like, I can't do it. I'm gonna go Baldo. I mean, come on, man.